Okay, this is our second video on building our inventory of assets, and in this video I will take you through the costing and valuing section of our background document and go through all of these links. Okay, so to begin with, I'll just say that this line up the top here, the you are to use CPM when actual costs are not available, please don't let that confuse you. What that is saying is that after addressing all of this information in this document, you should be in a good position to calculate the CPM or the value of assets using an appropriate CPM value based on some of the ones we give you here and other ones that are contained in the document. Okay, so don't worry too much about that sentence at the moment. Let's just work through these other things first. So, valuing print media advertising. So in print media, you should all be fairly familiar with this stuff from your marketing plan assignment when you're doing your budget. I'm sure most of you use print media, and the link that I've got here shows you a couple of interesting things that we can see. This is all News Limited, and you can see just how consolidated our media industry is when you see all the different papers that this News Limited produces, and they're all here. Community newspapers, Quest Queensland, we've got regional and rural newspapers around the place, and a whole heap of magazines here under different categories. And each of these will give you the rate card. So for example, if we go here, we can go to the Courier Mail, and when it decides to come up, it'll show us that it'll give us the rate card available for the Courier Mail somewhere here. There it is, download rate card. Okay, so you can download the rate cards for all of these outlets, and in general print media values are typically readily available. So therefore, from our little slideshow, when we're using print media, we're typically using equation number 1 to calculate our CPM, because even though we know our value that we're going to plug into our inventory of assets, we also need to know the CPM value of every asset as well, advertising asset. Okay, so that should be fairly straightforward for everybody. I'm hoping that print media is. If you can't find an actual value for your particular outlet that you're using, just find if it's a magazine that you don't know the rate for, find a similar type of magazine on here and use their rates, something like that, just as long as you understand how the process works. Unfortunately, with broadcast media, it's not so simple. So we walk down here to broadcast media, and rarely can you actually find out the cost of advertising in broadcast media. So therefore, when we're doing this one, we are using equation 2 invariably. So we need to set the CPM values. So here we've given you CPM values to use. $8 for radio, $15 for free-to-air TV, and $8 for pay TV. So the other information that we need when we're talking about broadcast media is to work out the number of impressions. And this gets a little bit complex, and that's where all these links came in. So for TV, this OzTam link, I don't need that, I've already got it open, is here. And from here, OzTam do all the metropolitan television ratings. So here you can just click on here, and some of the actual ratings of particular shows are fairly protected. So here you can get the latest ratings for the actual channels. So if you can't find a rating for your show, just use the average rating for the channel. So I use, say, channel 10 for example, and the average rating for channel 10 is 11.9. You then need to know the reach of that area in terms of the Brisbane population, and you can calculate the number of impressions. So 11.9% of the catchment area. some of the programs are available. So the top 20 programs are available here. So you can see there, and you can see that My Kitchen Rules dominates the ratings. And these actually give you the viewerships when you get down by program, which is handy. So if your program falls into here, you can actually use these numbers as your impressions rather than calculating it from a points rating. So that's for our regional TV. The Nielsen one, and I noted that this link didn't work, so all I did is when it didn't work, I came up here and, sorry, there's our Nielsen one, and just deleted the where are, went to AGB Nielsen, and then went to Australia to come here. So this gives us an overview of our regional TV ratings, and we can access them from here. When it comes up, sorry about the delay. And so there's our latest report there on the regional TV ratings. Okay, so your Prime, NBN, those sorts of things are all there. Okay, so, and our Think TV one, where is he? He's there. This gives you a good background on the way that the ratings information is calculated. It also gives you some other reports and a lot of background information. So with those three things, you should be able to come up with a number of impressions for your, using either the average numbers for your station, or if you can, find the actual TV program. Our next lot of things are radio. So in the radio ratings, we can have the regional ones, which are Nielsen. So that Nielsen link takes us to regional ratings, so Gold Coast Tweed, and here again we get them based on the radio station and their percentage share, okay, of that area. Now the Blackman one gives us the metropolitan ratings, and he is there. So that's our metropolitan ones. That's the latest one. Click it, and again they come up by channel and show you where everything's at. So Perth, all the different, Queensland will be there somewhere. There's Brisbane. Oh, Brisbane survey one was cancelled due to weather conditions. Okay, so to get Brisbane, you'll probably have to go to somewhere else. There you go. That's Brisbane. Survey 2, number 11, 2011. So there we go. That's how we work out our ratings, and then we need our population or our catchment area number, and we can come up with our number of impressions. Once we have our number of impressions, we then work out using equation number 2. We use our CPM value that we've got there, the number of impressions, divided by 1,000, and we can get our value for these broadcast media assets. Okay, so that's how we do our broadcast media, and you need to probably spend a bit of time going through those links and working that out. If you, for whatever reason, can't find a value that to use for your ratings for your whatever media you're using, just use an 11-point rating. Now, as you can see from the figures we've seen before, that might be generous in some circumstances. So it is an idea to do your best to find the actual rating, but if you can't, use 11 and then use the population figures of the catchment area to calculate your relevant impressions. Using equation 2, we then calculate the value. So digital media, these links here, we've got a rate card. So the first link takes us to, where is she? I think I've closed it, have I? Must have done. But the first link takes us through and gives us a link through to this rate card, which just gives us a very basic, from a wedding website, a basic way to value particular assets. So the type of digital asset, a skyscraper, 160 wide by 600 high, $40 CPM, and a few other simple ones. The second link in that takes us to here, this First Digital Media. They have a network of online sites that include all of these sites, and you can also advertise across their whole network. So this is their whole network rate card, gives you a few options there. There's also some pretty cool stuff on here about their audience profiling. Gives you a good way of, or a good example of how to present your target markets and their features. And you can use the rate cards for the individual sites, which get a bit more detailed. So the kind of image or advertising that you're using on the site, and then a CPM value for it. Some of them don't have CPM values, just have set rates. Again, we could convert that to a CPM value because we either know or we're going to make a solid assumption, educated guess about how many hits our websites are receiving, which is simply our impressions. So the digital media should be pretty straightforward. Based on those two links that I've given you, you can come up with a CPM value for the advertising you put on your website, and I'm sure all events have a website. If you don't, you want to make one pretty quick. And the last one in that's, or last two actually, so like outdoor media, billboards and things, use a $1 to $5 CPM, and the trick here is gauging how many people actually go past these things. Again, if you can't find the numbers, just come up with some sort of reasonably educated assumption and estimate of how many cars would go past, but do your best to see if you can find out that information. The last one is our database and direct mail valuing, and you can see here we value these up to as high as $250 to $400 CPM, so they're by far the most expensive based on how precise our targeting is in these databases. So the more refined it is, the higher the value we can charge. So that covers all of our advertising mediums, and if there's a advertising medium that isn't represented here, I'm sure that you can come up with something that is reasonable and logical and find a way of calculating the total value and the CPM value for whatever advertising assets you're selling to your sponsors.